They could have grabbed, like, a knife.
Welcome to Baggage Claim, an unofficial Jetlag the Game companion podcast. Today, we're unpacking episode 5 of season 15, Tag All-Stars. I'm Kira.
I'm Jaya.
And I'm Casey.
Jaya, what's your favorite juice?
Ooh, this is so specific, but there's a lychee juice that you can get at the Indian store that I just love.
Whoa.
And it's like 1000% sugar. It's truly incredible, but the Indian store is like a little out of the way, and so whenever I go up there, I also get a lychee juice and I drink it on my way home, and it's like a reward.
That sounds so delicious. Casey, what about you?
I love an orange juice. I actually really love the orange juice that they give you on airplanes, which is usually the only time that I have orange juice. I don't know what it is about like an overnight flight, but I'm always asking for orange juice when I wake up, and it just really hits. What I will say is my favorite orange juice I've ever had was just normal grocery store orange juice, but I had just seen Challengers in movie theaters and I came home and I was so amped up that I had like a full glass of orange juice to calm me down, and that was really good.
I also love an orange juice. I feel like it's a boring answer, but it's just good in every situation. It's a good breakfast juice. It's a good middle of the day juice. I like it all the time.
Well, and honestly, as chaotic as that sequence was in the episode, fresh squeezed orange juice in any circumstance.
Yeah, it sounded
so
delicious.
Yeah.
They said it was tasty, and I believe that.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the recap. The episode starts at the end of game day 2, with both teams trying to set themselves up for the next day before the rest period freezes them in place. Ben, Brian, and Adam successfully make their quick transfer in Olton, and then they absolutely dash to the platform in Brugge, where they'll take a 6 a.m. train to Zurich the next morning. Meanwhile, the chasers have some decisions to make. They correctly predict that the runners are going to have to go through Stuttgart, which leaves them with 2 options: follow directly behind the runners, or take a quicker route through Strasbourg that could get them there earlier, but could also leave them stranded if they get Deutsche Bahn during any of their connections. I think Toby sums up their thought process perfectly when she says, "At the moment, I would say we should do it, pending having a terrible dream about it tonight and changing my mind." They all do end up changing their mind in the morning, opting instead to follow the advice on Toby's shirt and take the simple plan. And Toby's psychic mind and prophetic shirt lead them in the right direction, because the Strasbourg leg of their roundabout route ended up getting too delayed for them to have made the connection. They really dodged a bullet on that one. What they do not dodge is the tree on the train tracks. In fact, one could say they exploded the tree on the train tracks, unfortunately once again showing that Sam's bad luck is back. The runners, on the other hand, have a stretch of good luck. They make it onto their 6 a.m. train to Zurich, making direct eye contact with the confused conductor as they hovered on the platform. In Zurich, they put their teamwork skills to the test as they expertly squeeze half a cup of orange juice, and then they board a train to Stuttgart. There, they pull the curse of the odd-numbered trains, which could have been catastrophic, but honestly doesn't seem like that much of an inconvenience for them. They map out their possible train times to make sure they don't get stuck anywhere without a way out, and then they settle on going to Nuremberg, moving themselves as far away from Sam, Toby, and Michelle's wind zone as possible. While the chasers wait for their train to get inspected by the dreaded high-vis people, the runners get to work completing challenges in Nuremberg. They double up on inventing and finding a short-sleeved, glasses-wearing, hatless person. They body Amy's puzzle box, and then they decide to stay in Nuremberg even longer to do the pétanque challenge, which I personally was really tickled by because there was a real pétanque craze a couple of years ago where several of my friends and their parents got weirdly into pétanque, and I feel crazy about it. But as the runners buy melons for pétanque, the chasers' train starts moving again, closing in for the tag. To conclude our recap, I've come up with a title to highlight the most important moment of the episode. So I've come up with the title, Toby Hendy's bad dream. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any suggestions?
That's so true. Her bad dream really did just come true for them.
And I went on a similar notion. I thought she was very relatable when she talked about having maybe changing her mind with a bad dream. And so, also inspired by her shirt, inspired by Simple Plan, I proposed the title, I'm Just a Kid and Life is a Nightmare, which is like the only song I know by them. Except I know one other Simple Plan song, which is What's New Scooby-Doo, the theme song for the Scooby-Doo reboot. That was Simple Plan, and it slapped.
That's because What's New Scooby-Doo is a banger. Simple Plan crushed it with that one.
They literally said, we're going to make a pop punk anthem, and it's going to be about Scooby-Doo.
I had two titles, which both I think don't quite work without context or being able to do weird formatting in your Spotify podcast episode titles, which you can't. One of them was a hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby moment. It was The Storm versus A Single Tree.
Yeah.
And the other one is Nuremberg Trials with trials crossed out, so it says Nuremberg Escape Room.
That's pretty good.
That is awesome. All right, well, with that, I will pass things over to Jaya for the Strat Chat.
Thanks, Kira. Welcome back to the Strat Chat, our segment where we break down the strategy and gameplay of the episode. I want to start with a general question about the runners. We've seen really different amounts of predicting where the chasers are from different teams, leading to a pretty wide variety in how comfortable the teams and the individuals upon them feel about pausing at a train station or in a city versus taking the first route out of there and just booking it out. I'm specifically thinking about how in Nuremberg, the runners waited for a more optimal train rather than getting on the first train to Erfurt, even though the chasers would have caught them if they hadn't hit the tree from this route. What do you both see as the balance here? And what might change how much the runners want to understand or feel they need to understand the chasers' potential actions?
This is a really interesting question, and I think that how I feel about it has changed over this season with 2 chaser teams versus just one. And I was actually really surprised to see the team stay in Nuremberg for quite a long time in that train station.
Yeah,
and we don't know the outcome because that's where the cliffhanger ended, but they definitely didn't take that first train out. And if there were 2 chaser teams, I think that there would be even more of a likelihood that there was a team pretty close nearby because just of probability. But with one chaser team, I think they were, for some reason that I couldn't quite understand, they thought that they were somewhere far away, or they just weren't really too concerned. And that was something that I didn't really fully understand why they felt that with such confidence, because earlier in this season, when Sam and Toby kind of had avoided being tagged for hours and hours and hours, and they were comfortable pulling another challenge after clearing their curse, and then they got tagged, I thought that would really indicate to them that they really couldn't settle and just think that they were in the clear.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing I'm thinking about is that I feel like no team has ever regretted leaving somewhere quickly. Like, yes, you want to get as many coins as possible in any given location, but if you're already a certain number of trains ahead of the runners, then going to your next destination and then just making more coins when you're there, that's maintaining your lead, whereas staying in one place for longer feels like you're letting the chasers catch up to you. There have been situations where the runners really should have booked it out of there, and they didn't, and they lingered, and then that's when tags happen. And then there have also been situations where the runners have left really quickly, even though the chasers were really far away, and so the runners really could have stayed in one place for longer and made more coins, but they never regret it, because then they could just make more coins in their next location. And so I guess part of it is the complication of like, okay, well, what is too much time? Like, do we stay here and do 1 challenge? Do we stay here and do 4 challenges? If there's a connection in 5 minutes and a connection in 15 minutes, do we always try to go for the 5-minute connection? And so there are complications, but I just think in general, it feels like it is better to be in control of the board, which means it's better to be the runner. And if you're going to be ahead of the chasers already, you want to maintain your lead. And so it's better to err on the side of leaving earlier than you need to rather than trying to squeeze one more challenge in. But I guess, I mean, it's hard to tell.
But to me, my understanding was that that decision was not born out of wanting to get more coins. It was that the second train they thought would get them further into their zone, a little bit less predictable, and in a more annoying spot if they were to get tagged there.
Yeah.
And so for me, I wasn't seeing that as a desperate ploy to get more coins. I think that they have a pretty comfortable amount of coins. They don't have, completely win immediately number of coins, but I think that they are doing great in that regard. And so for me, it felt like it was more a combination of maybe just having a bit more confidence that they made all of those really tight, risky connections. And so they felt like they had done the most efficient route and maybe even confused the chaser team. So they weren't anywhere close. And also maybe just a bit of, I don't know, we've only seen one tag in this whole season so far.
Yeah.
I think that maybe there's part of that where we've seen some harder luck hit the chaser team, and here the runners just feel a bit more comfortable taking that time.
I mean, I am, looking at the timings that I wrote down, and it looks like when the runners first got on their train to Nuremberg, they had figured out, okay, the chasers can get to Nuremberg by, 1:20 p.m. But they then decided to not take that high speed to Erfurt, which was pretty predictable. To be fair, Sam immediately guessed that that's what they wanted to do, which was at 1:07. And the high-speed train that they ended up wanting to take left in another 30 minutes. I would guess it left right around 1:35 or 1:40. They had already said that the chasers could get there at 1:20, and so I don't know what they're expecting to be able to do. Did they forget that they made that guess already? Did they realize that, in fact, that wasn't going to happen? Or did they decide it wasn't going to be a problem? I'm not sure.
For me, I guess where I am just kind of struggling to fully understand their confidence here is that, yes, they had a pretty good idea of the earliest that the chasers could get there. But I think in past seasons, we've seen that chasers can still have the element of surprise and show up earlier with some new route and everything. So it just seemed to me like they weren't worried about that. Which doesn't mean that they didn't plan for that, but even the fact that they were just kind of going around the train station, looking at different options, not even really trying to obscure themselves, was kind of interesting to me.
I wonder if part of that is that the runners are considering the option that the chasers aren't following directly behind and are instead trying to get in front. And so, I mean, I don't think there was any direct allusion to this in the episode, but it would be interesting, if you're the runner and you think that the chasers are trying to get in front of you and take sort of a loop around, then it would be most optimal to make sure that your next location is unpredictable, because
that is true.
You're trying to just not end up in the same place. But I don't think that they ever said that that's what they thought Toby, Sam, and Michelle were doing.
So bringing it back to the more general, do you guys think there are situations where it's just not worth trying to figure out where the chasers are or what they're doing? Or do you think that's more going to just come from if you were in such a time crunch that you weren't able to figure out what they could have done in the past, and that now eventually they have so many branching possibilities that it's just not really going to be possible to figure it out? Or, do you think it's always actually kind of worth figuring out?
I think that's a really interesting question, and it is a little bit of, me backseat watching. I think that it looks extraordinarily difficult to have any kind of guess of where the chasers are.
That's what I think.
It just seems so hard But
I'm just so impressed by the fact that they can do it at all.
I know, but then basically every single player always has a very logical guess. And so I think that my line of thinking here is that definitely early on in the game, it's easier to know where the chasers are, or early on in a run, it's easier to know where the chasers are. And then as you get later and later, I think, you know, they may have talked about it in previous seasons of Tag, you just get so paranoid because you have no idea what's going on. And so I think what makes the most sense, and what I think Adam is doing in this episode, is that he's keeping track of if the chasers were to, at all times, be trying to take the most direct route to where we currently are, what's the fastest route where they could have gotten here.
Yeah.
And so that means that in the beginning of the run, he's saying, well, let's assume the chasers are going to be following directly behind us. What's the quickest, like what's the next train frequency that they would be? And so then they have a sense of their margin. And then I think at any given place where they are going very far on a train, like when they're going to Stuttgart, Adam was saying, oh, well, here's the fastest way that they could have gotten to Stuttgart based on where we think they were at the end of the rest period, based on them following behind. So I think,
like, the fastest route that they could take to our upcoming location, or their fastest following behind option.
Yes.
And, like, having a good sense of both is possible.
Right. But I think that trying to extrapolate much beyond that, I think gets really in the weeds, and I would just imagine is too hard to justify, because, like, I think that if the runners think, oh, the chasers should be here in 15 minutes, and then 15 minutes pass and the chasers aren't there yet, I think that's the point where the runners are like, oh, well, then we have no idea where the chasers are. And I think that's where it starts to break down, and I think that's where it no longer becomes really beneficial to be making guesses.
Yeah.
Because then you might have false confidence, or you might just be told, like, there are so many possibilities that I think it is only really worth it to put in the mental effort towards saying, well, what is the next train frequency where they could be following either directly behind us or going directly to us, even if it's not the exact same route.
Well, I think those are really good points. I think being a runner sounds mentally exhausting, and I'm honestly just impressed that they're able to do it at all. And with that, Kira, I'll pass it to you for our segment.
Thanks, Jaya. Welcome back to Challengers, our segment where we explore alternate ideas for how to complete a certain challenge. We saw a handful of challenges this episode, but to me, the real hero was the fruit juice challenge. How do you both think you would have completed it? What fruit would you have chosen? When and where would you have bought your supplies and actually done the squeezing?
Honestly, I think they did the absolute best that they could on the fruit juice challenge. Like, I don't know if there's anything that they could have optimized more out of that. Immediately when they pulled it, they sprinted off to the co-op and got oranges in such a fast connection. I was shocked by how quickly they were able to get the oranges for the juice. And they had all the rest of the supplies. They had rolled the oranges on the ground, so they were already a bit juicy, and did it in the quick turnaround that they had. I think they did a great job with the orange juice challenge.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing I would maybe add is that because we're seeing here that you can start to fulfill a challenge at one location and then continue after taking transportation to your next location, I think that I know they didn't have a ton of time, and by a ton, I mean really any time at all, but I think that they definitely could have, like, squeezed one orange at one location and then kept squeezing oranges at the next location, and it seems like that would have been totally a-okay above board. So I think that definitely they were being very strategic about trying to get the materials for their challenge at one location and then continuing on, which I thought made a lot of sense. I will say, cutting it with a credit card, that's a choice.
That was crazy. They could have grabbed, like, a knife.
I was kind of excited to see them tear the oranges open.
I mean, we've seen in previous Tag that Adam was able to cut an orange with just the challenge card, so a credit card at least has some structure.
Yeah, credit card is not going to disintegrate like a challenge card will.
Yeah.
And so if your oranges are juicy enough, it's definitely possible. But yeah, Like, all of the other transfers that they had between trains before they squeezed the oranges, I think they could have probably realistically squeezed maybe a single orange. And logistically, to be able to do that, that would have required them, 1, dump out Brian's water, 2, get Ben's bandana or some other strainer that they had already picked and, like, put it in the water bottle, and then 3, squeeze a single orange. And then they are dealing with a wet, sticky bandana on the next train, and they can't really do anything with it because they need it to continue the challenge, and a water bottle that is filled with a single orange's worth of orange juice and also probably covered in orange juice. And I just think that sounds sensory-wise like a complete nightmare. And so if they needed to do that, I think that would have been a good way to do it. Because they had that 15-minute connection where they knew they would have enough coins to get there and they could just sit down and do it all at once. I don't think it is quite necessary to have gone that hard.
I agree.
I do think you bring up an interesting point, which is the amount of time that they gave themselves for juicing. And so I guess if you both were to have received this challenge, how much time would you be comfortable allotting for juicing before you would want to veto the challenge? I think here they had like 13 minutes. And so technically they could have gotten the challenge, vetoed it. They had enough time to full veto and still get on their train. But then it meant that once they reached Zurich, they would have needed to pull a new challenge. And if they couldn't complete it in 13 minutes, they didn't have enough coins to get to Stuttgart. So what is the amount of time in a connection where you would feel confident to say, oh, I think it is worth it to try, versus saying, no, I think it is worth it to test our luck and see if we can get a better spontaneous challenge?
I think it would depend on how desperate I was for coins.
Yeah.
If I can't get on another train for more than like 2-3 stops without doing another challenge, I'm gonna pull a challenge card regardless, like even if I have 10-15 minutes. But even if it's really, really tight, if I don't necessarily need the coins, I think I would probably be more of an Adam in this way of, if I have 31 minutes I'm pulling a challenge, if I have any less and I don't really, really need to, I don't wanna.
I think that I'm very risk averse in this situation. And I know it completely depends if they had had a much more difficult challenge, like if they had pulled Amy's puzzle box here instead of the orange juice one, where the orange juice one is a little time consuming, but I think that there is a certainty you could do it with the materials. Amy's puzzle box is, you have no idea how long that will take you. I think that there's just so much risk and uncertainty in pulling a new card and having it be worse, having it be a curse, time-sensitive card, not worth as many coins. I think I'm playing it safe here.
And I mean, I think, like, this does get a little bit metagamey, but both Brian and Michelle had a full list or spreadsheet of all the challenge cards, and whenever their team pulled a challenge, they would cross it off, or whenever they were pretty sure the other team had done a challenge based on, like, where they were going or what they were doing, they would cross those challenges off too. So both teams did have an iffy list of what they thought was left in the deck. And so I don't think this is a thing that they really, like, want to do, and this is why it really hasn't come up in the show itself. But you can get really metagamey and say, okay, what are the odds that we're going to pull something that's either a curse or a needs to be completed immediately challenge? And if those odds are low enough, then maybe it is worth it to just pull a card and risk needing to actually do the challenge later.
Yeah. I guess another benefit of being able to pull a challenge like the juice challenge and then go to your next location and complete it somewhere else is that it gives you time, even though you can't complete the challenge on the train, you can at least strategize on the train. And so I guess another benefit is that they got the whole train ride to be thinking through, well, what's our assembly line going to look like? We can use a credit card to cut, and we need, like, they can think through the logistics. Whereas I guess even if they pulled a card when they got to their 13-minute connection and they got an easier challenge, they might still be frazzled and they might need to think more on their feet and they wouldn't have any time to plan. And so I guess that is another benefit of at least there is certainty in what they're going to need to do. Well, I did love this challenge, and Casey and I think all three of us love orange juice. So I will pass things over to Casey for a little game.
Thanks, Kira. Speaking of challenges, I was very charmed by the invent, then find a person challenge. And so today I have created a game inspired by this challenge. However, there is a jet lag twist.
Ooh.
I will be describing 3 people in the format of this challenge. Okay. I have invented one of these people, and the other 2 are people who have appeared in jet lag.
For clarification, when you say NPCs who have appeared in jet lag, this is not the competitors and not just, like, people in the background, right? So this is going to be people they've interacted with but who weren't, like, playing?
These are people that they have interacted with or have been kind of spotlighted in some way. The first person has a t-shirt and shorts, no bag, no hat, and no glasses. The second person has long sleeves, a skirt, a bag, no hat, and no glasses. And the third person has a long sleeve, pants, no bag, no hat, no glasses.
This is so hard. So
There's
no hats and no glasses.
Figure out
fear.
anything about any of these people. None of them have hats and none of them have glasses.
Let's just name some jet lag NPCs.
Slovenian teenager.
Amy in the seasons where she doesn't play.
Tristan as the troll under the troll bridge.
Those are sort of the 3 that I'm thinking of. The guy who helped Adam burn a card.
Yeah, guy who helped Adam burn a card.
The 2 people on bikes outside the train that one season where the bikes were going faster than the
Shenanigans
train.
Showdown, I think.
Yeah. Okay, do any of these people, who would be wearing a skirt?
Well, okay, so when I was first looking at this, I had assumed that long sleeve skirt, bag, no hat, no glasses was going to be Toby in New Zealand until we found out that it was not.
These
the
are NPCs.
Players. This is NPCs.
I don't think Toby wears long sleeves also.
No, that's the other thing. Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the invented one.
Yeah, long sleeves and a skirt. No, because that's something that I can, like, see Amy wearing.
What about, like...
But I feel like with that outfit, Amy would wear a hat. And I've completely made this up in my mind.
What about Mayor Muriel Bowser?
Okay, that was long sleeves. Because it was, like, a suit.
Was she wearing a skirt?
Was it a skirt
Did she
suit
have
or
a bag?
pantsuit?
She had laser eyes.
She had laser eyes.
Oh, I
She
forgot
didn't
to
have
mention
glasses.
this person has laser eyes.
Well, no glasses could mean yes lasers.
That's a great point.
I feel like we're missing so many NPCs.
Yeah, I think that we might just have to do guesses.
What about, like, notable moments from each of the seasons? The person in the car who Adam harassed when he was busking.
Oh, what about, like Uber drivers? Like, in Battle for America, several Uber
Keandra.
drivers. That's a great point. Maybe she's someone.
Here's my counterpoint, is that I don't think we would have known if they're typically, like, we wouldn't know if their Uber drivers are wearing short skirt or pants.
What a great point.
Or if they, like, have a bag.
Do you want to just make a guess on who the invented one is?
Yeah, I feel like the invented one is going to be long sleeve and skirt.
I also think that, just because I can't picture what weather that's dressed for. Like, what season would that even be? Okay, and then the t-shirt and shorts and no accessories, that kind of
Slovenian teen.
Yeah, that feels like generic person. And then
Yeah,
long
that's just some
sleeves
guy.
and pants and no accessories.
Were there NPCs in, like, Schengen Showdown?
I know, that's what I'm trying to think about.
Or, like, the winter seasons? Arctic Escape NPCs.
Did they meet anyone in Switzerland? Have they met anyone in this season? What about, like, someone who recognized them?
They haven't had any fan interactions in this season, which is really brutal for our bingo boards.
I know.
All right, are you locking in your guess?
Yeah. Okay, first one is Slovenian teen. The guesses of who they are is not for points, this is for vibes. But t-shirt, shorts, no bag, no hat, no glasses, Slovenian teen. Long sleeve skirt, bag, no hat, no glasses, you made it up. Long sleeve pants, no bag, no hat, no glasses. Someone in one of the winter seasons that we forgot about.
Yeah.
I am so shocked you got this 100% correct.
What?
Oh my god!
So the first one was the Slovenian teen.
No way.
The last one was actually Amy's friend in the Arctic Escape dance video.
Oh my god.
And then the middle one was what I wore to work yesterday.
Kira, I salute you.
I'm floored.
I'm flabbergasted.
I thought there was no way you were getting this.
Oh my god.
I thought there was no way we were getting this.
I bow to both of you. Congratulations. You are really good at identifying people, and I will pass things back over to Kira.
Okay, I feel absolutely incredible.
I've never felt better.
Let's move into our Rosebud Thorn. Jaya, do you want to get us started?
I would love to. So my first rose is that I feel elated about that.
That was so crazy, Casey.
That was a rush. Those were random guesses of things that were vaguely feasible.
Wow.
No, but my real rose is that I feel like it's really rare that they go to a place I'm familiar with in jet lag. Like, it's really only happened in Connect 4 and Battle for America. And so I loved seeing the bit of Nuremberg around the train station because I was there last year and I took Deutsche Bahn there. I had no delays. And then I just wandered around with a friend for like 4 to 6 hours before taking the train back. And so I feel like I know that area pretty well, and it was really exciting to see. My thorn is that my rose was going to be about Toby's Simple Plan jet lag shirt, but then Michelle brought it up, and they talked about the simple plans already, so my thorn is that Michelle sniped me for content. My bud, just the way that I've been feeling about watching this run, it seems that my feelings have decided I'm rooting for Brendam now, because they feel like the underdogs, and I love an underdog story. And I'm so nervous about how chill they're feeling, and I really hope they make it out of Nuremberg.
Casey, what about you?
My rose is that I'm really enjoying the 3-person teams. I think that they bring a lot of comedy and just fun vibes to this episode. Also, Amy's puzzle box was incredible, and the sheer escape room energy of the 3 of them solving it made me feel electric.
It was so good.
My thorn, come on, that train hit a tree.
Oh, no.
Can I just say, the last stretch of seasons being on Team Sam.
You've had a brutal run of it.
No.
It's so hard, you guys. My bud is that I'm hoping for one more snack zone this season, and I really would love to give Toby a chance.
Me too. My rose is also that I'm just loving all the team dynamics this season, and especially the second half of the season. I think that having 3 players on each team is really letting each player shine, because we get to see more of like one-on-one interactions where one person is filming and then there are still 2 people on camera. I think that it's been super fun seeing everyone's strategies and their plans and just their goofiness. It's been fun vibes this episode. My thorn is also that Sam's bad luck is back. It felt like he really had an upswing in the middle seasons, and now we're back to kind of early jet lag Sam bad luck, and it is tough to see.
Yeah.
And my bud is I'm so curious whether there's going to be a tag and where the tag is going to happen, because I'm wondering whether after the tag happens, if there is a tag, is the strategy going to be to try to force a tie by going really far away from the other team's win zone, whether or not you end up in your own win zone? Or are the teams going to try to straight up win the second place, even if you're putting yourself in not quite as challenging of a position for if there's a tag back? I think there's just so much that could happen. I'm very curious. And with that, thank you for waiting at Baggage Claim. Let us know your thoughts on socials at baggageclaimpod or over email, which is in the episode description. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a comment or give us a follow. We'll see you next week at the Marshmallow Baggage Claim. You'll have to wait patiently. Goodbye.
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 But that's like how the Arthur theme song is also weirdly good.
I don't remember the Arthur theme song.
Isn't that also a real band? Who does that?
The Arthur theme song is Ziggy Marley.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
It's really good. What I would recommend, and I'm aware I'm about to say a sentence that is insane, but this is a video that was posted like during the pandemic, and I watched it maybe 18 times a day in the early days of the pandemic.
Whoa.
Ziggy Marley does does like a cover, not a cover, I guess he does a performance of that song on Stephen Colbert that is like,
and by that song you mean the Arthur theme song.
The Arthur theme song that is so good.
This is the most Casey sentence that you have ever said.
I know.
Ziggy Marley did the Arthur's theme song on Stephen Colbert during the early pandemic, and you watched it 18 times a day.
Honestly, that sentence is going to be studied in history textbooks when we learn about 2020.
Casey, you're perfect, never change.